Everyone. Today we are indeed privileged to have architect Sabu Francis to uh, to be with us on this AGI Mentors Hub uh, platform that we have created for getting career guidance from established and uh, well like well established architects, practitioners, and even academicians. And Sabu sir, in fact, is himself all three. He has a very well established practice. He has also got his own academic inclination, and he has been involved in academics very actively since many years. And he also has a very unique practice, or a unique involvement in architecture, which is something very rare to find. So I'll just give a little background about him. um, he graduated as an architect with his BArch from IIT Kharagpur in 1984, and has expertise in multiple domains, not just architecture but beyond it, into fields such as computers, computer aided design particularly, knowledge management, artificial intelligence, web technology, and many areas of information technology that include software development for architecture specifically. uh, so he is very multifaceted in that sense. He believes that the practice of architecture requires both abstract thinking and delivery on the ground. Hence, he has been involved with both research as well as realization of architectural projects. His research in the field of architectural representation systems led him to discover some mathematical principles that can be used to develop design concepts. He was awarded the JIIA Special Award for Research in 1991 for this work. These principles were then incorporated into a software called TAD Designer Lite, written by him. His work was utilized by IIT Bombay for two of their research projects in the area of energy calculations in buildings. He has also done a lot of work for the Konkan Railways. Uh, I am sure that you all have heard about the Konkan Railway Corporation, and it is one of the toughest railway projects in the world. Uh, it was one of the oldest systems to showcase the use of BIM, Building Information Management, used to design the interiors for their headquarters, which were done by architect Sabu Francis. He has also designed several other projects for the Konkan Railways using this same software, which he has developed himself. Today, he has experience and knowledge in many areas relating to both architecture and computing. He owns original intellectual property in the area of architectural representation systems, music, and messaging, while his tutorials for Visual Prologue are quite popular. So I take great pride in inviting architect Sabu sir to take this lecture today, and I am sure that he is going to shed light on a completely new realm of architectural practice, which many of us would not even have probably conceptualized or visualized that it is so integral to our architectural design practice. Over to you, Sabu sir. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for the nice introduction. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I love talking to youngsters. I love this period of between puberty till about 30, 35. That's what they say is the adolescent period. Acha, before that, I hope I'm legible. Everybody's able to hear me. In case you have any questions, I think you should start asking as you go along. And once in a while, maybe I may look at what you have written. Hello, is
Yes, sir, you are audible.
audible?
And I
No?
will request, yes, sir. And I will request all the participants that they should use the chat box to keep putting down their queries, so that,
Okay.
like sir said, that he can, keep answering them as and when he's on that related topic.
Okay. So what I've done is that I've the topics which are being addressed here, that is computing, internet, and artificial intelligence, they're extremely vast topics. Now all of you, the bulk of people here are all young architects or students. I believe they're students, right? Are they
Yes, sir.
students?
Yes, yes. Mostly most of them are students or young architects, recently graduated ones.
Okay, great. So, talking about computers and say do this, do that, do this, and this software and all that, that is not what I think will add value to you. I have a lot of experience for more than 30 years, and I have covered a very wide area. So, what I will do is, as you can see, I've created a mind map. I'll just address 6 points which I think you must know. All of you should be really understand these 6 points, and then if there's time, I will probably teach you a few habits uh, which can help you shape your career and get you to a better life. In between, I may talk a little bit about my background, how I grew up, and or my experience at IIT. But frankly, every old man will use his experience and stitch up a convenient explanation. So it's not just the experience itself which is critical, or it's actually quite inconsequential. The principles which one learns deep down because of those experience could be of use to a lot of you. So that's how we will proceed. So what I've done, I'm going to set up some timer because I have this habit of rambling a little bit. So I want to limit myself. So I'll put up this. Hello. Somebody's microphone is on. The host can actually switch off everybody's microphone. Can you do that?
Yes, sir. Done.
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I will do is that I'll set myself a 5 minute slot kind of thing, so that I don't exceed that. So the first point is about uh, what I call as drones in front of you. Okay. So the 1 minute, and this thing is giving some problem here. 1 minute. Oh no. Just a minute. I'm trying to set up the stopwatch here, but it's giving some background music for some reason. Okay. So, the first point is about what I call as drones in front of you. What does this mean? When somebody is talking to you, some old people like me, they'll say, beta, do this, do that. This is what life is. This is what my experience is. What you should visualize in front of you is, think of a drone which is coming and giving you that piece of advice. Now, a drone has got multiple propellers. So you check what are ways by which people are trying to support their argument. They'll say, beta, my life has taught me you have to do this in life and things like that. What you have to do is you have to open up and ask yourself that, okay, what is that person's knowledge about psychology? What is that person's knowledge about math, statistics, sociology, economy, moral stance, philosophy? Now, you may think that this is all unnecessary, but really speaking, this is what is really needed, because a lot of people, especially of my generation, I feel has done a disservice to your generation. And there's a reason for it. My generation people are the first generation who never really had any problems as such. There was no independent struggle or anything. My parents went through that. Not that they participated in the independent struggle, but the repercussions of that independent struggle, hardship, poverty, lack of electricity, all that they went through. So when people struggle a lot, there's a chance that they can be very deep and conceptual when they advise people. But people of my generation, lazy people, actually, very honestly. And a lot of people who give advice to the youngsters are not really doing a good job of it. And you youngsters should guard yourself. You think of yourself, when people give you advice, you have to picture this in mind, and then you ask yourself that, okay, is this guy's advice or this lady's advice, is this really sensible? Is this something which is going to really help you in the way you shape your life, or is it some opinion which people generally have about something and then generally just pass on this? Because this is very super critical. Why am I saying this is, like I told you, I'm very fond of this particular age group between puberty and say 30-35. The neurosciences says that adolescent period is in that period. Earlier they used to say the adolescent ends at around 20-25, but that's not the case. New research is saying that it goes all the way to 30-35. So a lot of you don't have a fully formed what they call as prefrontal cortex. That means the area of the brain just behind this forehead, but your rest of your brain is phenomenally rich. In fact, they say there's 30% more synaptic connections which you people have, which adults like me don't have. And there's a process known as pruning. Your neurons get chopped off and it reduces, and that's what becomes an adult. Now the reason why that happens is because nature is trying to give you that extra shot of intelligence for you to be really productive when you come into your adulthood, because when you become an adult, you are in a position of influence. You can change things around, not when you're a adolescent or a young architect. So when people are giving you advice in today's complicated world, you better get good advice, and you should have this capability to discriminate and differentiate what are they actually saying. So don't spare me, I'm also part of that. A lot of people are trying to advise, so you have to ask yourself, is this coming from a very holistic point of view? Is that drone properly supported? Does it stand hover in front of you correctly? This is super critical for youngsters. Why I'm saying this is because time and again I'm wondering that India has got the largest population of all of you. The biggest population of youth in the world is in India, but remarkably there is nothing which is really nice which is coming out. Time and again I'm seeing youngsters coming up with very, one of those 140 characters smiley type of reactions and things like that, and I'm wondering, why, man? This is that really rich area with lot of imagination, lots of intelligence, and still nothing has come. Whereas historically the world has seen a lot of people like uh, Galois or Leibniz or Newton. They were all in the 20s, 21, 20, when they discovered things like calculus and gravity and all that. So look at the peculiar situation. Though we have the largest population, but we have not really tapped into it. Possibly the reason is people like me and people of my age group. So that's the first point you have to really understand as a youngster. Okay, a lot of people will give you okay, that's my timer going off now. How do I switch it off? Oh god, I should have said this properly. Oh god. 1 minute, huh? How do I set this off? Yeah, so that's the first section. I think I finished that. So let me go to the second section. The second thing which you must understand, all this by the end of this talk of 10, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, I will be able to give you enough material for you to start thinking about how do you shape your career. Okay, in terms of what is this new thing called computers, or is it a new thing actually? What is the internet, and how do you use artificial intelligence? How does it affect architects? This is the eventual goal, but it starts with this kind of thing, this kind of basic foundations of thinking. So the second thing which has happened in this world is what I call as horizontal, going from the vertical to the horizontal. Now, you may have seen some scene like this where people are sitting inside an auditorium. Say in Bandra, there is this Andrews Hall, and there's some important, probably some architect has come on the dais and giving you fundas, and all you youngsters are sitting there and you're all excited, you're clapping, and you're impressed by the way people are talking. Now, the way this works is what I call as a search for credibility, right? All of you youngsters who are listening to me, they want to get credible information. Now, the thing is, for thousands of years, people have understood credibility in a particular manner because as a human race, we discover our own techniques to understand credibility. So we have, what was the old way of doing it? for 60,000, 100,000 years back, we got the capability to talk and start writing on cave walls to begin with, and later on proper form of writing. This resulted in various kind of tribal behavior where like in this Maasai tribe, the elders are advising the other people on something has happened in that village, and now they are settling that problem. So each congregation of people discover their own method to understand this guy is credible, this guy is not credible. So in that Andrews Auditorium in Bandra, if there's a famous architect walks on stage, and then all the people will start clapping, they'll say, oh, there is a important person there and he's got something important to say. And then somebody else comes in, but you don't know that person, but then you say, okay, he's coming onto the stage and he's just following the other guy who's there, so maybe he's also quite important person. So we have this pecking order whereby we discover that something is credible and something is not credible. This way of thinking and understanding, and saying that, okay, of all the various inputs which comes to us, which is the right one and which is the wrong one, which we need to really sort out. And I mean, we don't have to sort out, because we have the social mechanisms and gestures and language and the way we talk and the way we impress our audience. That is how people have understood for a long time. If so we use cultural symbols, then in the middle of this, the disadvantage is there are certain power plays which comes into picture. Somebody says, okay, I know the guy who's organizing that event, so let me also speak for 15 minutes. And the auditorium, the students over there sitting there, they don't know whether he's important or not, but they just assume that person is also important. So the whole credibility thing gets distorted, because some people try to manipulate, say, okay, I know the organizer, I'll just go there and speak and pretend I'm a big guy and all that. This kind of tribal behavior of organizing people into vertical clumps of people. So the whole world used to be kind of separated bodies of people, so there's this set of in architects sitting here in say New Bombay. Somewhere else there's a set of architects sitting in Bombay or Bandra or wherever, and each one has got their own mutual admiration club kind of phenomena, which kind of gives you a feeling that it will okay, this is what we should believe and this is what we should not believe. But this is changing a lot. What has happened is that this credibility system of what we consider as credible, this is changing a lot. You look at my situation. I mean, till this COVID event and a few people started asking me to give webinars, nobody knew about me. I am one of the first guys to talk about something called BIM many years back. That is 1989. And I never fitted into this tribal system of establishing credibility. So I'm not somebody a notable guy as such. But now I'm getting some kind of voice because the internet has come in. What has happened is this vertical clumps of people are getting demolished. And then there are a lot of horizontal layers which have started coming up. A lot of horizontal layers have started coming into the world. There is a book which somebody wrote, which is about startups and the IT field, where he said that the earth is flat. I mean, he was making a metaphor, of course. What he was saying is that, things which affect something happening here could affect something happening in Brazil, or the other way around, or something, some problem happens in Malaysia, and we may have problems in cooking oil because a lot of cooking oil comes from Malaysia. So the way the world has got interconnected, our credibility layers have started becoming much more horizontal. Why am I telling you this? Many of you are in your 20s. And by the time you're my age, I bet the kind of people you will be really be relating to as the people in your network may not be geographically related. It has already happened with me. These are some of my friends there. This guy is from Denmark. His name is Leo Jensen. Okay, this guy is from New York. He's actually a Dominican who's in settled in US. This guy is from Nigeria. Okay, he's a damn good architect. This guy is from Finland, and this is the kind of people whom I am currently interacting with. This Leo Jensen is a major guy in artificial intelligence. He's the guy who invented this new language called Visual Prolog. I'm also an expert in that language. And what happens is that this fellow is the only one whom I actually seen. Others I've not seen only. My interactions are all happening on the internet. So the whole vertical clumps of people which happen to be there and winning their, what I call as brownie points. I'm a great architect and I've got many things to say and things like that. It's all going away, and the real credibility systems have started emerging where you need to really make a lot of sense before people say that you believe. All the shenanigans which people used to do is, okay, I'll just try to squeeze in myself onto the dais and pretend that I'm an important guy there and I will talk about all kinds of things. All that is disappearing, and by the time you grow up, you are going to have a much more leveler playing field, and there will be different layers depending on what kind of moral systems you believe in, what kind of technology you believe in. Today software developers from Uganda is discussing with somebody in Sumatra and somebody in Netherlands and somebody in New Bombay, and we are all talking about how the hell to develop software, not really the different locations. Same is the case with architecture also. There's a lot of things which are changing in architecture. So this needs to be understood very well, that the vertical is moving on to the, it's not yet fully happened, by the way. So still, as in this movement, there are people who are trying to, game the system and trying to, win brownie points in unfair manner. You will see a lot of horizontal layers across the world in many other areas. For example, recently on Facebook and all, there was this peculiar pattern people were noticing, that all the governments which were led by ladies, they have done a damn good job in the COVID this thing. So there's another layers of competent ladies across the world doing very similar strategies, and in one sense they are occupying that particular layer over there. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people in those layers. It's no longer like that small very specialized audit people in Bandra sitting in the Andrews auditorium. People more or less know each other roughly who they are. So it's kind of tribal behavior which was there, that is gone. So there's some very interesting observation. It is happening in governments also. So there are lots of governments are, after the 2008 financial crisis, a lot of these governments were what you say, there were some rich people, the oligarch, they got worried. In 2008, there was a major disaster. All of you were very young, so probably you don't know about it. Should go and read about that event. It was a major crisis. It was almost like this COVID crisis in the financial industry. After that, the really rich people, they said that, okay, we'll sit down and manipulate a few governments. And there's this beautiful article which this guy, I think he's from Norway. He wrote this article expressing his concern and observation about how very bad governments have started coming up in Brazil, in Portugal, in many different places, in US, in UK, and he's pointing out some commonality, like all of them are led by some buffoons, like UK, Boris Johnson, he's also got some orange hair, and the other guy is also an orange hair guy. And he's saying that he was pointing out that the guy who organized the elections to win the Australian Prime Minister, he flew over and got Boris Johnson to win. So look at the way the world is getting reorganized. It's going from the vertical to the horizontal. Unfortunately, he also put our government into the same lot, and he's claiming that we are all getting manipulated by very rich people, and this is your future. You have to start thinking about this. So how these horizontal layers are going to shape up, what type of interactions you're going to do, how are you going to use the computer and the internet to win your credibility in proper manner because of your work, not really because you are a famous guy and somebody who will put you on the dais. So there are some links here. Noam Chomsky is another philosopher and a linguist who talks about all these issues, and he points out some of the critical issues which is happening there. So this is a situation about credibility. If you were to put one word to this entire talk which I'm giving, is to guide you youngsters to know what is credible and what you need to remove, so that you can focus on what is the right challenges. A lot of youngsters come from the college, architecture colleges, and they think that, I'll get a commission, I'll do this and I'll do that, and there'll be a building up over there. but lots of it is changing, and it's changing drastically. And one of the reasons why it is changing drastically is because of the way the internet and the computers have come into our life. And I'll tell more about that. The third point which you have to understand is what I call as blurred boundaries. Blurred boundaries is, you know, when I was in IIT, my colleagues in IIT used to talk about, oh, you are an architect. All you have to do is just paint and everything. It's so nice for you. It's we have to sit down and really do really hard case maths and engineering and all. You have a happy time. When I come out of IIT for NASA and all that, and I'm interacting with other architecture colleges, I get the opposite reaction. I get people say, "Oh, you are too technology oriented. You know, this is a IIT after all. I mean, technology." Now, I started thinking that are people going around with cupboards that you need to be slotted into this slot and that slot and that slot? Mind you, IIT Kharagpur actually do not believe in slots. But still, the stereotypes of wanting to define who you are is a major concern with some people, and you get sucked in sometime into. So you need to really ask yourself, like, are the boundaries of this now? People, when I go to conferences, a lot of architecture conferences, I'd gone to Architecture 360 at 1 degree conference, and they're saying, what are you doing here? I thought you've gone into software. You're no longer doing architecture, right? And then when I go into architecture conference, they say, what is a practicing architect doing here? Don't you make buildings? What are you doing in software? I mean, it's all crazy. When I go and talk about teaching to somebody, suddenly all these stereotypes come in. You're a visiting prof. You really don't know what teaching really may be. This kind of stereotypes is so much. And I have to dramatize the kind of boundaries which are getting blurred. It is amazingly. I have a friend who's a doctor. He went for a amazing doctor. Is Dr. Nobujit Roy. He's one of the major guys in international disaster management, and he went for a 1-year postdoctoral course at Johns Hopkins, the leading medical institute in the world. When he returned back, he said, "Sabu, you know one thing? What is happening in Johns Hopkins? I was practically the only doctor there." I said, "Really? What about the rest of the people there?" He said, "I was discussing with a historian, with engineers, with graphic artists, with people somebody who's a writer. They are the people who are joining Johns Hopkins and talking about what? Medical research, about malaria. So they're talking about history of the way malaria used to be treated by the natives and the cultural repercussions of malaria." Now, look at the way the world is changing. Look at the way boundaries are getting blurred. Nobody is going to ask you. I've been to several conferences. I've got 7 international papers, and nobody asks you whether you have a PhD, do you have this, you have post-graduation, oh, you are a practicing architect. It doesn't matter. What matters is that how are you sitting down to contribute to the problem which is at hand. There's this lovely talk by Fidel Castro. A lot of popular myth is there about socialism and communism and all kinds of stupid bloody things are there. So what we do is, hello, is this talk getting ending? What is the thing?
Sir, the first session is going to end. All the
Okay.
participants are requested to use the same login credentials to log in again to continue the website.
Okay, so should I pause now and then continue again?
Sir, we left with 1 minute, so you can continue for a minute.
Okay, fine. So no, I'll just break here and then we regroup again.
Sure, sir, definitely. Thank you.